2nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call.
Blackwell,
Present.
Campbell,
President Crankley.
Holland, Godfrey,
Present.
The rest of the community center board state their name just in case people aren't familiar with faces for the sake of this meeting.
Paul Peterson, Chairman. Paul Peterson.
Mark Gooding,
Tom Bauer,
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Doctor to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. New business, new management. I'll turn this over to Paul, I guess. This one.
So our new manager is Jamie Stecker here. Let her introduce herself. Better?
Hi, I'm Jamie Stecker. I am I'm the new manager at the Elders Community Center.
Can you tell us a little about yourself and your past history or?
Yeah, absolutely. I have over 20 years experience in the event and hospitality industry. I've worked all aspects of events from start to finish, starting with, service and bartending, down to event planning and also catering, and then events as a whole, just being the main person that sets everything up from start to finish for the customer. Also being there for solutions, from the customer service aspect, there's always something that's going to happen. It's guaranteed, and just being able to think quick on my feet and handle those things.
Patty, do you have anything to bring forward right now? Okay,
business.
all right, we'll go on to number 4 then. We'll start with the 6-month financial report.
No, it's good.
Patty?
So you should have a financial report showing, the revenues and expenditures from fiscal year 20 through fiscal year 25. These numbers are updated, so the fiscal year 20 through 24 is not gonna match what you saw in December, because I went through and took the month of June out of each of these fiscal years, since we don't have June for fiscal year 25, just to give it a more accurate comparable, to look at where we're at so far, in this fiscal year. And then I also provided a 6-month snapshot from the last 3 fiscal years. The first joint meeting discussing operations and financials for the community center was just December 2024. So wanting to capture that 6-month, the changes in the financials, it would show a little bit better if we're looking at just that 6-month period over the last 3 years. So those are going to be the 2 sets of numbers that you have in front of you. And again, with the fiscal year 20 through 25, you'll see some items at the bottom under that total profit loss for the year that account for the money that comes in annually to subsidize operations. We do an annual transfer in from our sales tax and hotel motel tax funds from the city. The investment interest is interest that is shared between the different funds for the city and enterprises from our money market interest that we earn at the bank. And then there's a miscellaneous category that we are working out that shows the revenue that comes in, and we don't have an expenditure line for it. So we take that out of that total profit loss. So those are the deductions that you see at the bottom to give you that total.
If anybody, council or board has any questions or statements, you want to just chime in, raise your hand and go from there.
just looking at the 6-month thing, in terms of the expenditures, you did a good job, it looks like, or maybe not a good job, but why is the, other salaries down like $16,000? Was that difference in staffing, or why would that be?
Yep.
And how did you do that?
So what me and Alexis did, after meeting with you guys back in December was we cut staff in half. Me and Alexis were both knowledgeable and have been with the community center for so many years. We could handle the, short staff, and cover the spots that needed it. So we just started scheduling less, sending people home instead of keeping them here. Cause most of the time the employees don't want to, stay, and if they wanna leave, why not send them home so we can save a little bit on our end?
Yeah.
So that's how we cut that in half. And then we just kinda put in perspective how much we were spending in staffing on certain events and how to kind of cut those numbers in half.
And then, do you have an assistant manager now?
There isn't an assistant manager that I'm aware of.
No, go ahead.
What Jamie's done is she promoted, one of the older employees that's here, and she's gonna mentor her over the summer, so she's not salaried, but they give her a raise, so it's at $18.
Yep.
So we'll still be able to cover everything, but you're not gonna have the expense of, the full-time city employee benefits and that kind of thing, so. And eventually, if it works out, I mean, she might turn into a full-time assistant manager, and she's gonna be, she's almost 18.
Almost 18.
Yeah, so she's still in school. She just off for the summer, so that's the current quick fix to try and run lean. And, we didn't need two leaders. We need a leader and apprentice, so that's the current plan.
And then Paul, will Jamie and this person be able to put in the same amount of hours, engage in, let's just put in, I mean, it sounds like you guys really burned the candle at both ends, at least the meeting that I attended, you were talking about you were there all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, affirmative. That's the need for the two people. It's just to split it up. It's because it's with the hours of operation and the setup ahead of time and staying after. And honestly, Mark and Gigi and I got to work here about 4 or 5 times when we were in transition, and we got to see how unique the hours are on weekends. So definitely needs Jamie definitely needs help sooner than later. So we got that solved. The employee that she chose to promote, I worked with her, very, very intelligent young gal, so feel pretty positive.
Okay, so you guys put in a lot of time, so then really, we saved quite a bit not quite a bit, we saved money on salaries when you guys were filling in, is that correct?
I guess a little bit. I'd probably cost you money due to inefficiency.
I'll vouch for that one.
On the 6-month P&L sheet or balance sheet, buildings and grounds was 14,910 compared to 43,73 and 281 the previous years. If you look at that, as far as expenditures, take that off the bottom, means net neutral for the
Yeah.
most part. Which I think that's an outstanding job from where we were.
Yeah. Engaging like they had some really good. They had a busy winter with the skating events. They hit a home run on that. That number on the building and grounds material, that 14.9, most of that's actually an LED lighting upgrade. And I think the original proposal was gonna be what was a savings of like 8,000 or 9,000 a year.
yeah.
So honestly, we spent that here, but then long term, if it actually, saves that's every year then too, so.
Well, and the other portion was to seal up that west wall.
Yeah, we did,
There was a lot of heat and.
repair the fascia, which we were just basically in the winter heating the outside because it wasn't sealed or fire stopped or anything like that. So that's part of that expense too. And then we replaced the drinking fountains. That was another one that's on there. So that's what makes it look a little bit different, but it's all things that are gonna help the longevity of the building.
No, I'm impressed by this.
Yeah.
You guys, staff and the board did a hell of a job trying to turn this ship, and I think you've turned it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I would disagree just a little bit, Brian. I mean, I still think that when you look at all the money that the city has contributed over the last 5 years, that's a pretty healthy number, you know, to make this even just to stay even. And I think that we still aren't there. You know, if we would take away our transfers in and investment, we would be, you know, still further in the hole than we would, the way we are.
Don't disagree with you, but we're looking at 6 months numbers showing a progress in the right direction. The fitness center, when we own that, we contribute 50,000 a year, 50,000 plus, keep it open. At some point in time, you know, if we get close to net neutral, then it goes back to the quality of life and amenities of the town.
That's true, but for the fitness center though, too, there came a time we had to close it. And it was because it was bleeding. You decided not to put more money into it. And that was even before, we were having those discussions before the YU.
We gave it some time, then the amount of improvements that facility needed, which this needs some, but not to the amount that did. It was a no-brainer. The council at that time chose to buy into the Y with the school board.
Right, which was a good thing.
Which is a smart decision.
Right.
We didn't want to end up competing with ourselves.
And so,
Have your hand up, Tom?
no, okay. And so talking about competing, where I struggle is that we are competing with other businesses in town that do the same thing that we do. You know, and so our facility doesn't pay taxes. Our facility gets a break on what we purchase because we don't pay sales tax on things. Is that correct, Nevada? On some things, we don't pay sales tax on things that we use for the facility.
Correct.
Correct. And so other businesses like Rolling Meadows, they pay taxes and they don't get a break. And so we are barely breaking even and we're competing against people that are paying us taxes. I just question that at times.
So there's multiple ways you can look at that. Community center's been here for how many years? Those other entities chose to come to this town, this market, even knowing that. So I don't think we should hold it against us for owning this for a long time just because a new business came to town.
And I agree, but when you look back over the last 4 years, we have used $290,000 in public funds, you know, to keep this facility afloat, basically. And that's a lot of money to me. And then my question is, I mean, and I think the community center has been a great asset. But when I was at the meeting, I think it was March or April, and I think you guys were talking about the number of evaluations you got in. And there were 13 evaluations and only 2 from city residents. The rest of them were not even from around here. So I just wonder if it's worth a discussion. We want to contribute that much in public funds for residents or for people that aren't even here.
Are you talking about wedding events, birthday events, skating
Birthday
events?
parties is all we receive,
So
the evaluations
the
from.
thing with the customer evaluations is it's hard to send them to the weddings and galas and stuff like that, and receive them back. So with birthday parties, we were always, as soon as they would pay their bill, we would give them a customer evaluation to fill out right then and there while we ran their bill. The thing with weddings and those such big events, you can't give them a customer evaluation form when they're paying their bill, because all of their bills are due 72 to, I believe the contract is changing a little bit for their dates to almost a month in advance. So they can't judge their event before they've even had their event. So most of the birthday parties and special events such as those type of parties are, yes, mostly from out of town. I mean, we do have a decent set of Eldridge residents as well that were having parties here, but most of them are, yes, correct, from out of town or Davenport, etc.
And Scott, I don't disagree with you at all. I come from the private industry myself. The one reason that we hired Jamie is for large event experience. And for this to be financially healthy for the city, the large events are where it's going to turn the corner. And if you look at like, say, on the 3-year, like the cost of what we paid for like, just say alcohol, you know, there, you can tell there hasn't been many of them,
Right.
so.
Yep.
I mean, I still think there's a lot of upside potential. I don't disagree with what you're saying about, you know, several years of paying that money too. And I honestly feel the same way, but, you know, Brian is right. I did that building and they chose to build it here and I think what we have is a little bit different of a venue. I mean, we're basically the only city that has our own roller rink in the entire Midwest, you know, so it's a unique thing, you know, from that aspect, but, you know. the
And not
fact-
only that, to add on to it, the other facility that you're speaking of, Scott, can only handle 250, where we can hold 400 to 500 in this
Right,
building.
right.
You can't get a venue, or we don't have any other places here for that. So
I
we're
get
really
that.
not in competition, we're helping one another.
Right. I get that totally, but again, if most of our clients are from outside of Eldridge, that's a.
That is
that's
just
a
on the
concern.
skating end. That's just skating parties. That has nothing to do with the large venues.
Okay, so the people that do the large venue here, they're mostly from Eldridge then?
No,
Many are from here. I've known several that are from here, but others are outside.
Do you
I
have a
mean,
number?
we have, I don't know exactly the numbers, which they can look into that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm no longer here, so
Right.
I'm not gonna look into it, but from my experience in the past 2 years of being in the management side of it, I could tell you no, that most of them come from Illinois. And Moline side is where most of the events come from. Us putting a stop on them going into 25 did put a big hit on them already for this year. And putting a hold on it going into 26 is gonna put a big hit on them as well, cause you can't book past a certain time. But yes, no, most of them are Eldridge residents,
So most are Eldridge or not?
are not
Or not?
Eldridge.
Okay.
I would say about, sorry, from what I can think of on top of my head, about 3 to 4 of the events that they have, big events that they have right now are like Long Grove, Parkview area, and a couple in DeWitt.
Thank you.
So you're fine, thank you. So,
Yeah, of course.
you know, with hearing that, too, I've always advocated for this community of being a destination where other communities would be happy to come to Eldridge, and to see our attractions, shops, and restaurants. So I think that holds merit. When you hear that, for individuals coming from Illinois and where else, I think that's good. It draws people here, sees what we're about. And you never know, you may have a family or individual, maybe want to come here and live. So we continue to grow this community. You may have investors that sees the value of what we're doing, what you guys are doing, and want to come and invest within Eldridge. So I think it's good to have outside individuals come here to utilize this facility. Looking at it, yes, I agree, there have been a deficit there. The city has supported that. Kudos to you guys to looking at that, thinking outside the box. I do like the venues that are here. Yes, they are different, and you appear to continue to think outside the box of what we can bring here. So that's good. So that's a positive as well. Third thing, just want us to keep in mind too, if anything's changed, if it hasn't, nobody's told me, but this center is still a warming and cooling center for the city, correct?
Yeah.
So you gotta keep that in mind too. And when we're looking at any type of funding, if it's directly from the city, that we need to ensure that we have this available for emergency situations. With extreme weather happening and occurring more frequently, we may have to use this facility, more so in those realms. And yes, you can't fault a skating rink here. Many of them are going obsolete. So I think that's another great amenity here for Eldridge. So keep up the good work. I just want us to, as we move forward, just think about those talking points. And no matter what we do, when we transition through this, is that it's needed in the community, and great job. What you guys are doing.
One of the things that, when Gigi and Mark and I were working here, that I guess I didn't realize until we were volunteering here a little bit, was it also provides a lot of jobs for young kids. that are kind of entry level and they get stuff, and I mean, they all did fantastic, so I mean, it does offer that for the community too.
Excellent point. Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. That's, yeah.
Well,
I'd like to add too, I know we constantly keep talking about the event side of things for this place, but the only other skating rink that's close by, you gotta remember it is a skating rink also, and everybody seems to push it towards the event side of things, but skating comes and goes. The only other closest spot is East Moline, and I could tell you a handful, if not more, of the kids that do come to this place live over there and they choose to come and drive the 22 minutes all the way to Eldridge for our skating rink as well, because it is way friendlier, it's nicer, they enjoy the environment around here. The staff is way more communicative, I can't say that word, but like they interact with the customers way more. And personally, I've gone to
Staff is awesome.
the skating rink across the river and I personally didn't enjoy myself whatsoever. Plus, I mean, yes, you pay a little bit more, but now they're even trying to match the prices that the community center does because we bring in better staff and customers. If you look at their website, I mean, you can see that they try to match everything that me and Alexis did. Breaking it down to birthday party packages, our calendars, our events, everything, they were trying to be just like us. They changed their date for school skates to what we had our school skates. I mean, they're our number one competitor on the skating side of things. They competed and they wouldn't even post their calendar. We could wait until the middle of July to post our calendar and they wouldn't post theirs until we posted ours. You know, stuff like that. I mean, that's things that me and Lexi looked at as well. When we were changing prices, stuff like that. Those are just things I've noticed.
And with me being brought in and like he's talking about the events are being focused on. So one of the things that I am working on is still maintaining some of the, like those skating events and still keeping those, but possibly, you know, working it so we still can book all the events that, you know, Saturday that I was told every Saturday used to be booked with a wedding or a large event like that. And now we're looking at sporadic dates for these types of things. We have the Derby is here once a month with some of their stuff. They use our rink twice a week for practices. And with the events, if we were to bring more of those in, it would look like it might interfere with some of the skates that we have, but I have some ideas going forward to still be able to incorporate those skates and on an even more regular basis. So that way we can still keep that clientele happy and still provide them with those times that they love to come in for the specific events. Also have looked at some different things to implement within the building to help streamline quite a few things that will save a lot of money financially, supplies and materials wise. And I'll be working on some of that stuff this week. And our next meeting would have some more updates on that.
There was some big gaps in processes that we found. And no point of sale system, which will help Jamie tremendously. And skating isn't gonna be a big moneymaker, in my opinion. Don't you agree?
Yeah, well, it's seasonal too.
It's gonna-
It slows up in the summer because there's some sports and everything and.
It's gonna help pay some bills, but it's not gonna be
It's not gonna help sustain the building.
where we need to be without the big parties.
Which is understandable, but then that's when you should be booking as many parties as you can in the summer and taking.
Well, I agree, but I also think that the previous manager, Lexus, wasn't calling everyone back.
Which I understand that. I mean, I definitely understand that and I respect that. But also we got put on hold to accept a new contract, which put a damper on things that took a very long time to get approved. So when we were calling people back to even book their party, they already found a new venue. So that's another thing. That's why I'm saying like us putting this 12-month, 16-month thing you're gonna run into the same problem next year. Because that's what we ran into this year. When we had to wait for this contract to be approved, which mind you has many, many errors that need to be fixed. The new master contract for all events, the event contract that we were going into booking for 25.
Why would that take so long to change?
It has to go through review with legal and insurance to make sure that we're covering all of our bases liability wise and that we have verbiage in there that we can legally stand on for those contracts.
Yeah.
I do want to just bring it back real quick to the financials for the skating admissions. I know there's a lot of back and forth on the skating versus events. And I think they're both really important. The skating has for every single year been the leading source of revenue for as far back as we have the records in front of us, and I'm assuming for longer than that. So I do think that having that unique part of it, and focusing on that and maintaining some focus on that is going to be important because it has consistently been your lead source of revenue here.
And you're right, I was gonna say the same thing, I mean, your skating budget is running $72,000, you know, in the last 6 months. Whereas the weddings and birthdays are like 60.
But keep in mind, Scott, we raised the price to get in from $7 to 11 plus rentals 4, so we almost doubled it.
By Brian Dockery tonight, I'm over by myself, and everybody's had a contrary opinion.
You really want to feel like Brian Dockery tonight? Scott, I don't look at this, the $30,000 or 36,000 city puts in plus the interest. I don't look at that in any different way than how we subsidize the parks, Sheridan Meadows, for softball tournaments. We do that every year. It's hidden costs that we just don't keep a line on.
We don't have tournaments anymore. We maybe have 1 or 2 tournaments a year. We've got rid of that because we can't staff them.
The parks is not an enterprise fund. They're just that.
But when we were doing that, we were putting a lot of money into that.
And our residents were using them too. I mean,
But very few teams from Scott County or from Eldridge played in those tournaments.
back when we had the tournaments, yes, in the last 2 years, they may have 1 or 2 tournaments a year and that's it. And that's a local tournament. The baseball team and the women's softball program holds a tournament. They got out of it because it was a non-money maker.
Boys baseball still out there?
The Blake Hanna has one tournament. Or not Blake Hanna, Travis and
Right, they play games there.
I'm not sure how many games, but they do have the Lancer, ball club is
the baseball.
uses
program.
the fields.
Every time they play out those lights,
And they pay for them.
they might be a fee, but I guarantee you, we're subsidizing the cost out there.
I think you need to look into it just a little bit deeper. I mean, the park board has done a good job. I'm not saying the commissioner is not doing a good job. I'm just saying the park board has done a good job of looking at what they need to do and what they can do.
And I'm not saying the park board's not doing a good job. My point is, whether it's Sheridan Meadows or the soccer fields, taxpayers are subsidizing that.
And I would say
And not
majority of
everybody from-
Eldridge residents are the ones that are using them during the week and enjoying those facilities. You go out there on any night this week, you know, you have little kids playing baseball. There's not nobody from across the river coming over here to do that.
But they're not all from Eldridge. Pickleball is the same way. Not everybody that plays pickleball is from Eldridge.
I would totally agree, but you're using the same, Adrian is using the argument that brings people here to use restaurants and whatever. That's the same thing. However, if people are coming here for events, they're not gonna go to a restaurant. They're gonna eat at the event.
They might have to
They're not
stop and
gonna-
get gas.
Pardon me?
They might have to stop and get gas.
Maybe,
Or the kid
but-
wants a chicken nugget meal.
I just,
So the big
But
event,
it's also gonna bring in money to Eldridge as well for the hotels, cause there's only one hotel in town. Everybody that you talk to is gonna tell you that they don't wanna drink and drive. Eldridge is one of the most scariest places to get caught by the police. Just saying, but these are things that I hear, so that's gonna bring money into the hotel. Then the liquor store, you know, there's other things that's gonna bring in money to Eldridge as well for these events, or even if a kid doesn't like the food that we offer at the community center, they're gonna go to McDonald's, Hardee's, all these other places as well.
bottom line, I mean, $290,000 for 4 years of public funds is a lot of money. You know, to keep other business afloat. you know, and so I question, do we need to be in the business of hosting events and hosting, you know, skating party? I don't know. That's a question for other people to really answer.
I'm showing they're making good progress. One of the big events they cut out or limited to is and I can't pronounce it, the 16th.
Yeah.
Quinceañeras.
Yeah, what you said. We limited some of those, otherwise the alcohol sales would be through the roof. Because there's several times that the staff had to go up to Eldridge Mart, buy more.
Buy more,
Yep.
just to get through that one event.
So part of this issue is scaling back on some of those things. I mean, do we take the keys off and let it run and see what it can do? That's my opinion. See if we
We've
get
got
it.
We've got Jamie now, so we'll see.
I would like the opportunity to see what I can do, to see any of the changes that I have in mind or that I'm working with the city on. Some of the stuff would in fact impact and make a difference. I know with me as the only acting manager right now, the dynamic is a little different. As Gage said, he and Lexi were previous skate park employees and they were able to work with a lot of those events together, as some of them only require 2 staff members. To cover all the legalities of them, and they were able to work the safety side and the concession side and do that together, whereas me, I am not able to do that. So staffing for me will look a little different, but I do have plans in place, and I'm actually meeting with my staff as a whole on Wednesday to talk about some new methods, saving in labor, streamlining some events, more so there's not so much. The way that it's set up right now, pretty much I just started, so I've only been here, 3 weeks. So, with a couple of times I've had some events that were prior, but going into this, looking at the schedules, I would be here 7 days a week. I'd be living here. And,
I did.
it is, and I know that they did, and Gage and I have 2 very different lifestyles, and for either one, it doesn't matter the differences, but for either one of us, that's a hard lifestyle. So we do have to find some methods and some strategies to make the work-life balance better and less stressful on employees, and then still provide the same events that customers are looking for while still adding new ones and making more money.
And this is just a 6-month review, so we'll see what happens and
Yeah.
good luck and thanks for your willingness to take on this challenge.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have some ideas still put in this year, and it'll hopefully get some customers in here that maybe haven't seen the facility before and can see what it looks like, or maybe don't associate it with anything other than a skating rink, or maybe they do want to see the skating rink and they want to have a skating event. You know, it's just a matter of trying something different and getting that new customer in the door and getting more people in the door. And I do think it does benefit the local community. I work at a local establishment here, and I can't tell you how many times I've had customers in between a wedding and a reception coming in to get drinks, to hang out for a little bit, or like, I've never been here, you know, what's fun to do? And I'm new myself, so I don't have a whole lot of information, but it's always nice to meet some outsiders coming in, checking out the local places, and then coming here for an event. I think that's great, and I'd like to increase that.
Good luck. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
And I will say, as an employer, the staff that's here, they have a really good culture. I mean, even the DJ, he's autistic, he's high functioning, and he's like the best DJ, and like, just a nice dude, and like everybody. So it's, you know, I like that aspect of it too. I think this place has a ton of potential.
Right.
Honestly, so, would we want to do 6 months or?
Yeah, that was something I brought up, that we should do every 6 months, so that way it doesn't go all the way to the end of the time frame.
Yep.
You know, to turn around. I can see you're all trying very hard, because as Brian said, that you can see right here, it is turning, going the right way. And now you have professional running the place now. The only reason there were some restrictions on there, as being a dad of 3 daughters, I've already did one wedding, and it's really hard to plan a wedding out. And if they're doing a 1.5 years out now, that's past our deadline. You know, that's not fair for people, because if something fell apart here, I'm hoping it doesn't, but if it did, that's not fair to those wedding parties, because they're not gonna be able to find a new venue
Right.
overnight. It takes a year or better to do that. So that was part of the concerns on putting some semi-restrictions that people didn't do long-term things, because it wouldn't be fair to them regardless if they're from the community or Davenport or wherever, weddings in that way. So if you guys could propose something to work within the remaining year timeframe that we talked about and loosen up those restrictions on you, I think everybody here shake your head or say yes if you agree that if you think loosen that up, but you have a way to still not make it unfair to somebody, you know, once the deadline comes around, I think everybody be willing to let you really run with it, but we just gotta worry about not overcommitting, that's all.
So there's no way you can move the deadline to a different date because,
Well, it could, but then it's just like, I hope you're successful, so I say,
Right.
but how long you wanna beat something to death if it's not working?
Right.
So that's why I don't wanna say, you know, I understand for events, for people like weddings, for right now, it might be a month or 6 months past this deadline, but we had to draw a line somewhere to see what could be done. So if you guys can come up with an idea on bigger events that still work within that time frame, I think everybody here would be more than willing to let you guys try it.
Yeah.
Is that true, everybody?
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
What's the goal? Is it,
Yeah. My question.
what's the goal? Is it to be
Well-
neutral at the bottom before you add in all the extra investments?
That's a good question. I mean, everybody was looking at the bleeding that happened now, and it is way before all of you were part of this, so it's not
Yeah.
any reflection on you guys at all. You guys are turning it
And I'm
around.
not, yeah, I'm
You know,
not.
as,
taking
as
it
Brian
personally.
said,
If I would have seen this 5 years, I'd feel the exact same way. That is a lot of money over 4 years. You're right.
right,
200%.
right, but when we had the fitness center, when we do have the parks, you know, if the city didn't contribute to the parks, the city wouldn't have any parks. So I understand that
Well,
this is an asset of the city.
And actually, Frank, like, Mark and I were the first ones that actually brought some of this stuff up, like, why is this
No.
not happening?
I was in a couple of those
Like,
meetings.
create a monster, but that's fine, but it's, you know.
Right, no, I was
It
there.
should be healthier than this, and I'm pretty optimistic that it can be.
Right, I think if it could get to net zero, that'd be great. If it could be considerably less, because the city has, as I've said at several meetings, we have a lot of infrastructure projects the city has to do. We have roads that need replaced. There's parks that are behind on all the additions the city built. There's no parks for the children to play at and stuff. So we're a growing committee that has lots of growing pains right now. But the main thing was, a lot of, as Scott was saying, this has been a lot of money, and you're admitting that, you know, if you would have known us 5 years ago, you'd agree with Scott, you know.
And this is also a park that can get used in February.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's an inside park during
Yeah.
3-4 months of winter,
Right.
you know? So the idea here was just to see if it could be turned around to be whatever the expense would be, to be easier to tolerate, because it is an asset of the city. We need to maintain it. And if it can provide a service to the community at whatever, we haven't really set a dollar value on that, but obviously it was kind of getting outrageous to keep it going the way it was.
Agreed.
That's our goal, to give you time to see if it can be turned around to be a more tolerable amount to keep the amenity for the city going.
So is it before all the transfers in, and is that where you want to be zero, or is it after the transfers in?
So just to provide hopefully a little bit of clarification on the goal and, maybe some of the comparison to parks and why the focus is on the community center and, talking about parks that same way. So the community center is a business proprietary enterprise fund, separate, from the general fund, which is supposed to be a self-sustaining. It doesn't mean that the city wouldn't continue contributing, they always have, but for the operating, to be able to be out of the red without those contributions, to be able to meet what it's supposed to for compliance as a enterprise fund with a public agency. The parks, on the other hand, are part of the general fund. They aren't a business, fund. They don't have a self-sustaining revenue. So that comparison is a little bit different. I think that's what Scott was maybe speaking to with public funds, is that we're using public funds to run, a business, activity that isn't necessarily as many Eldridge residents. And that is in a fund and considered a business activity that should be operating off its own revenue only. Doesn't mean it can't take contributions annually from the city, but it should be able to run on its own. The park does not fall into the same category. It's part of the general fund. So that's the difference in the focus and the reasoning for needing to get to a point where it's operating, at net zero or above after before the contributions. After contributions, sorry.
Whichever way.
I have obviously a different viewpoint. I think in the next 6 months, if we can get it net neutral and start carving into some of the subsidies, that'd be great progress. I think our end goal would be to get that down to zero. As long as we're making progress showing that, I think that's the direction. So to answer your question, me personally, if we can get net neutral and start carving into that 30,000 or 36,000, that's showing good progress. So I don't know if we can make that in the next 6 months, but progress you've been making, it looks like it's very obtainable.
It is.
It is.
I think the problem with it is there's things that take up way too much of the time, and the financial side of it is kind of lacking for the hours that are spent here. So a lot of the events do need to go up in price for sure, but then you have to figure out where do you take the loss. With customers anyways. But things do need to happen like more often and more frequently, but it also needs to be able to be in the same time frame as others. For us, we're used to working like in a 9 to 5 job, but for the community center, that's not what you work. You work 24/7. So anytime that you can fit something in there, they should be fitting it in there. But also, like Jamie states, she can't be like me and be here 24/7 because she has different lives and stuff like that. But that's where their assistant supervisor or whatever shift lead should be coming into play. But that's where it's hard because she's only 17 and a high school student. So that's where it was easy for me and Alexis. She could be here until she needed to get her kid, but then I can be here at any time because I didn't have a child and stuff like that, but I also wasn't in school. So that's where it needs to take play too, on what kind of events are you gonna push towards. I get like the main events are the big ones, but also you gotta think about the time frames. What's gonna be good. It's summertime, that the events, weddings and parties are going to be your biggest hit. That's why I asked about if you could move the deadline, because you're stopping it in June, or the deadline's June, if I am correct, right? It's kind of like where we were going.
Meeting every 6 months.
Yeah.
Then and
It
trying
was
to
July 1,
figure out.
Of
2026, because that starts our net.
Right,
fiscal year.
fiscal year. So that's why I was curious if we could push into the 26th fiscal year, because that's gonna be the busiest time for them for events, and if you can go back to pushing events every weekend, regardless of it being a quinceañera, if you could get more weddings or big galas, there's pianos and stuff like that, dance competitions that you can push into here, but if you can push that into the 26th, that's gonna bring in more money for you guys as well. That's why I was curious. Because if you look at it from somebody who did this, October into December, or no, October into March are your dead times for the community center for events. But starting August into April, May, end of May is your busy time for skating. The school's back in session. So that, those are things I just like look at.
Just as a matter of resolution, could we possibly meet in 3 months instead of 6? This way, we should be able to show some progress in that time. And if we are showing substantial progress, and of course, let the council determine if it is exactly substantial progress, that then we lift the restriction for the July 1, 2026.
No, I think that sounds good, and then push it back to September 1, if you think that that's when it starts going from busy to slowing back down. But let's do 3 months to make sure it's going the right way, and then the council can vote to extend that 3 or 4 months.
I believe
But
that,
right now, you still have 12 calendar months
right,
to do events, so I was kind of lost there on what.
so even before I left, I was receiving calls for 26, and I met with some people that I told to reach out to me.
So they
and-
were events after July.
But yes, correct,
Okay.
and I believe you have met with some people as well,
Mhm.
that were interested in events past July as well.
Okay. Well, I guess when we set that, it just was convenient to do it within the fiscal
Right.
year of the city.
Right,
And we didn't know what your busy times were. Nobody
Yeah.
provided that to anybody on this board.
yeah,
So
and my apologies for not at the last.
I think if, we reschedule this for 3 months out, like your recommendation, Tom. And then if things are look good, then we put it to vote to the council. If they want to extend that to August or September, then that'll give you the benefit of those busier months, as you say, are busy. And then you can schedule, and it should show though progress each 3 months, working towards that.
I will say that looking at this next month, and I don't know if this was the case from last year, if we had trouble booking for June, but this is a pretty light month. I'm looking into, there's a wedding and, we do have a derby bout, and I think we have a quinceanera too towards the end of the month. But that is it. And, I had to do some rescheduling for some of the skating events because again, with the dynamic being different as me as a loan manager now, my employees are high school students that are still in school. So when some of these summer skates were supposed to start, I didn't have the staff to cover them. So, those did get pushed back. So we are missing a couple skate dates because of that. And then, yeah, it's probably too late for me to get another large event for the month of June.
So are you saying from today, 3 months, we'll meet again? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
No.
No.
It's
I
the
don't
slowest time of the year right now, especially when things weren't booked because we didn't know what was going to happen. So she doesn't have much on the calendar yet. I can't see that she can get to a
Well, we can
satisfactory
leave
level
it
in
6,
3
but
months. I'm sorry.
with changes, going back on all the permanent records, even though I understand June's slow, it should show progress compared to the previous 5 or 6 years, the same slow months. It should be, you know what I'm saying? Because we have a whole year at a minimum.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's-
if you guys want to regroup in 3 months, we can, or we can keep it at 6 months.
I vote for 6.
I think 6 maybe.
I think with
Just
it being
getting
your,
I don't think 3 months
Been
is
here
gonna give you
3
enough
weeks.
data to really
I don't think that's
go
gonna put that
off of
pressure.
or-
but I worked good under the pressure, so
I mean. Under pressure,
it's
you know,
just-
just,
if it's your slow month, then you should be quick to figure out some way to bring that income in.
Well, it was just, the 3 months idea sounded like a reasonable idea, especially if you want us to push that day back.
Right,
Unless the council's willing to do that now, they extend the deadline. And then keep your thing at 6 months.
We would help
Why
schedule that for it.
don't we make it 4 months? If June's slow, your expenses are gonna be lower too. Should work out. Make it, let's meet in 4 months again.
Does that sound agreeable, council? And then we can talk about what push, I mean, I don't want to keep handcuffs on you to show your full potential, whatever, but at least that way, if it does show, then the council can decide if they want to push it out or push it out to the end of the calendar year, or whatever.
Further net neutral,
Then
we take it off the table.
That's right, we don't worry about it, right?
Public to decide, it's like
Exactly.
push out the calendar dates, how you two.
Okay, then if everybody's in agreement with that, then we'll take a date 4 months from now.
That's the issue.
That sound good?
In my opinion, I'm sorry. In my opinion, if you wait until October to decide if you're gonna push out the dates going into 26, it's still gonna put a damper on them for events. I really do, cause your events, they're booking for now going for 26. So in my opinion, that's putting a damper on them that's like setting them up for failure. I mean, yes, they can come around and find something else to keep them occupied and bring in that money, but if they're stating that the event is what's gonna bring them the money that they need to bring in, how are you gonna bring in any events?
I agree. Should.
Well, the council, as I said before, the council didn't have that information. When they set this deadline,
Right.
knowing that now, if this council would agree to push it out.
Can we extend it to October 26th
Yeah,
with hearing this and then hearing a expertise? And we have
Yeah.
Jamie on board now, who's really proactive and has been in the hospitality business for 20 years. Maybe we do that, so we're not losing any particular business nor income on top of that. Is that acceptable? Do we feel?
I think Brian's got some
Consent
trending, but
numbers too.
we don't have enough data. I mean, we only have 6 months of data. She's already said, you know, she's gonna have a hard time getting assistant manager. She's a high school kid, a 17-year-old kid that's gonna be her assistant. You know, so we don't even have that in place. We're putting a lot on her. She has already said that she's constrained by her other commitments in her life, you know?
What I was saying earlier, I don't think that anybody's life should be considered harder than the next. I think we all have our own things that sometimes can restrict our schedules. But what I was saying, the point of putting on a part-time shift lead is some of those significant times where I can actually get some other stuff done that is more valuable to the facility instead of sitting at an admissions window, taking the money for skaters coming in. I think my time can be spent more valuably than that. So, the point of that is to take just a little bit of that time off my plate so I can focus on some other things or get some, I can spend more time doing some of the setups and things like that myself. Instead of having a lot of the staff paid to come and do that, I can get a head start on other things. I've been working on a few things to streamline a lot of processes to take that out of time spent in a day. I think there's a lot of things that I've identified where there are some time saving techniques. I just have to have the time to get those implemented and in place and staff trained.
But
So
I think
you would be here while your assistant manager's here?
Well, no, I'm saying by her taking those 4 or 5 hour shifts, that's an extra 4 or 5 hours of my life that I get back.
Right.
Cause I'm gonna have to be here for events, like bigger things like that. I have to be here to do the business and financial side of things too. Ordering, staying on top of all those other things, marketing, putting our name out there for skating events.
But that would be done during the day.
Well, yeah, you do all that stuff during the day too, but then events that are on the weekend and meeting with people and people that are only available sometimes during those times to meet or returning phone calls are only available. Can you call me Friday at 6? Can we meet Friday at 6? You know, that kind of, it gives me the opportunity to have those times.
I would propose, something like Adrian, make it October 31st, 2026 is our new date. We meet in 6 months.
well, I was just gonna say, why don't we just make it December 31st? Keep it on 6 months in the big picture for the city. A few months is not a big deal. Let's give them until December 31st of 26. We keep on 6-month meetings like we are now. You're not constrained by slow summertime. And like I said, the big picture, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't, then we'll move on with plan B or whatever. I hope it does work out for the city and everybody involved and give you a chance. So that'll take restrictions off of you. And like I said, a month or two isn't that big a deal in the big picture. So I think that way it stays on a 6-month cycle. And that'll give you a benefit of getting through the lean 3 months into some good months to really show what you can do and implement ideas. And I think that would probably be the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Does
that.
the council agree with that?
The reality of it is we've realized in the last several months that there are issues with the systems, how it's been run. And now those have been recognized. It didn't happen overnight. It's not gonna get fixed overnight. But if we don't give tools, it's no benefit to the city, the community center, everybody. So if we owe it to give them the right tools, let them produce. I'm confident with conversations I've had, with things that I've seen that are changing, I'm confident it's gonna get turned around. But we've got to give them those tools to do it.
Yeah.
So let's do that. We'll run it to the end of December on 26th. The council agrees with that, and we'll stay on our 6-month things, but maybe you should consider end of October, the cutoff for bigger events when we're leading into the end, unless, like I said, if somewhere between now and the end of 26, this is where we want to be, then this issue's done. Put it to bed.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it dead, it should.
And that's fine. And then for Scott, I do have some events that I have proposed that if they go through, that will actually be hardly any expense to us to provide, but will be very, attractive to the Eldridge community. Partnering up with some local, Lancer Productions for one, they have a huge support in our community. And that would be a lot of Eldridge residents that would probably want to take part in some of the events that I have planned. Another one would be something similar to like an adult prom. So we don't have a wedding booked in a couple of the fall months, and those are huge hits actually for something like that. And the community, from what I've seen, working at local establishments and stuff like that, people love things like that. And I would love to be given the chance to give those types of events as well a try. They don't require too much setup. That would take away from a public skate or something like that, so we can still implement those things and not take those away from our community, and have what I feel would be a pretty successful event and bring more residents back into the community center.
Great idea. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other update on operations or staffing? And then we'll wind this meeting up.
So December, for the
December.
next meeting, not October, correct?
Well,
December 2025 for the next meeting, December 2026 for the kind of deadline.
Yeah, but we'll have,
Month meeting.
we'll have another meeting in
In
June
June.
26 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, frankly, we don't have anything else. I mean, everything here is just basically maintenance and a little bit of keeping nothing.
Okay.
Roof's not falling apart or anything like that.
All right.
Nothing we can't handle amongst us, and honestly, us as a group probably communicate every couple of days, and I mean, we're only working for 3 weeks, she's got a whole checklist of things going and everything, so it's, and I think we'll be in good shape in December.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's been a smooth transition and, you have our support.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wait a second.
Second.
Motion. Second.